our hands together for these three gentlemen as we get to hear their story. Now, there are two things that are in common for them. One is that they work for one organization, and the organization, Elisham, is Compassion. The second one, anybody who can tell us what the second common workday? They are all workday. Oh, they all use workday. Okay, so there are three things that are common. So the other one is that they are all Compassion alumni. So let's put our hands together for this gentleman. Where do we begin? We begin by them letting us know who they are, right? So in a quick, in brief, and we can start from anyone, but since you're seated alone, let's start from you. Tell us who you are, Eli. We see like you can easily pass for an FBI. You know, tell us who you are, and you can also tell us something that we don't know about you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Blessed New Year to you too. My name is Chengo Eli, and I'm a born-again Christian. I come from Western Kenya, Kakamega County, Butere Sub-County. I was born and raised in Kisumu towards the end of the 80th decade. And one thing that you do not know about me is that I'm an uncle of 17 boys and girls and a grandfather to one.
Wow.
I became a grandfather about 4 months ago, and I was brought up in a very big family of 3 wives and 1 father. I am married to I'm married to one wife who is a woman presently, and
she could be the one?
Yes, she is the one. She comes from Kisumu County, a place called Nyakach in Paponditi. And I'm blessed to have 2 daughters, 1 adopted and 1 biological. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together for our brother, Eli. Great to know you, Eli. Yes, Bwana Kevin, you are next. Tell us a bit about yourself, you know, and a bit of something that we don't know about you.
Yeah, so Happy New Year. My name, as you know, is Kevin Nandi Kwatemba. I'm the firstborn of 3. I was born in Nandi County along Nandi Hills. So most people thought I was named Nandi because I was born there. But actually it's just my grandfather's name. So I love football. I'm a big fan of Chelsea.
Wow.
And yeah.
What position are you right now in the league standing?
Yeah, we are still trying to manage the young boys. You know, we have a very young team.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Let's clap for him. Let's encourage our brother Kevin. And there's John Bosco Andolo. Next.
Yes, praise God. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, as you heard, I am John Bosco. I am born again Christian. I believe in Christ Jesus as Lord and Savior. I come from Kakamega County, and I'm privileged to be here this morning to be able to just share my story. And I value discipline, excellence, dignity, and also integrity. And I'm motivated anytime I address a difficult challenge or rather solve a problem that maybe people have not been able to address. So I'm really motivated by such kind of things. And then something you don't know about myself is I was baptized twice. Yeah, the first time I was baptized as an infant, of course, in Catholic Church. That was at that time I was given the name John Bosco by a white priest. My initial name was Pascal, coming from Swahili word Pasaka, because I was born in Easter. But now during baptism, I was the name changed to John Bosco. I don't know why it changed, but that is how I got my name. And then, of course, I was baptized, of course, by immersion later on in 2009 after I got born again. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Let's encourage our brother, JB. So you were baptized by water? The first one was water?
Yeah, by water, of course,
sprinkling. Okay, so that probably if it is by fire, we also know that you're baptized by fire. Thank you so much. Now let's go to where it all began. Tell us a bit, a bit of your journey at home, where it all started, as a young child. Tell us about your upbringing as we continue. Yes, let's begin again with our brother Eli Chengo.
So as I said, I was born and brought up in Kisumu. For those of us who know the geography in Kisumu, I was born in a place called Kondele, the famous Kondele area. And growing up, I had a lot of issues to deal with, especially coming from a family where my father was once a politician. My father was a councillor in the defunct Kisumu Council. He was a councillor until 1977. So I was born when he came from grace to grass, after the 1977 thing, everything. But that one is beside the point. So I grew up with an identity crisis because most people looked at me and continuously referred to me as the son of a councillor. But that was long ago. I was born way, way, way back. And I also was born when my father was already old. My father was 56 years old, and my mother was 40. So you can imagine growing up in such a family. The other thing that stands out in that is my father, I don't know, it was by default or it was a mistake. He decided to have 3 wives in the same house.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a difficult moment. My mother, the second wife, my mother is the last one, my biological mother. So the second wife was a little richer than the rest of the wives. The first wife had gone home. And the second wife, if you believe in African things, was really, really engrossed in these witchcraft kind of things. And she was a very big businesswoman. She would import things from Turkana in a place called Langalani. And she was a fishmonger by then. So my mother used to work for an Indian in Kisumu town. So we had two families, 3 families in the same house, one very rich, the other one very poor, and you were going through the same door, you'd see them really cook a lot of stuff, and on your side, you were hungry. Wow. And there's something about women, and there's something interesting about women. I don't know how it happens, but when I was growing up, I was told one day when you get married, you'll get to understand this. So she would take my father and give him the best meals, and she would sit around him, to mark the territory like a lioness. And being a young child, you wanted to access your father, but you couldn't until he completes eating.
Wow.
So she would sit there and look at you. So we grew up in such kind of an environment. So this is what we used to do to escape this one. In Kondele by then, before the flyovers were made, it was a big field where they used to make coffins. They still make coffins to date, yeah. So we would go there in the evening and collect wood, the remnants from the carpentry workshop. We would give them to the hotels around, and then we could find a meal to eat from that. The other thing we would do, we would go to a place, you move towards Kakamega before the flyover was made. There's a big field around there that had a lot of water. It was like a swamp. And it had the natural vegetable that would grow there. So we would go pick them up, and while we were playing this thing in Aitwa Kalongolongo, Cynthia, you know it? So some people were doing it for fun. Us, it was a real meal. So we would go pick them up, put mama and baba together, and we would eat. The other thing about my childhood is the other thing to escape that was I got engrossed into sniffing glue for some time. And I thank God, that the environment that I grew up in never caught up with me. Because it was an environment where if you wanted prostitutes, that was the place. If you wanted changa, that was the place. If you wanted bang, so I grew up around guys who were smoking bang. But a disclaimer, I've never tasted bang in my life. I've never tasted changa in my life. I only sniffed glue for about 1 month just to escape all the trouble that was happening around there, and that's that. So in 1999, there is something peculiar that happened. And some of you, if you are keen, if you see me walking sometimes, there are people who have asked me, what is wrong with your foot or something? So there is a disease that almost had me amputated at that time on my right foot. And I thank God that I got out of it. But I'll speak about that later if there's a question. So generally, that was my journey.
Wow. That is a story and a half. Why would you sniff glue? Anyway, let's continue. No. You know, there are so many things you can do, but glue. But yeah. But again, as you say, we will continue. Thank you. Yes, Kevin. Tell us about your upbringing a bit.
Yes. So as I said, I was born in Nandi County, and so my father moved from Kakamega to go and look for a job in Nandi, where he used to be a casual laborer in a tea farm. So he moved all the way from Kakamega, Ikolomani, and had with my mother. I think they had just been newly married, or they had just started their family. So they moved to Nandi, and that's where I was born. So in 1992 is when, I don't know if you remember very well, there was an election and there was violence. There was an ethnic kind of violence. So that's the time when we moved back to Kakamega. And moving back to Kakamega, it was really difficult because now I had to adjust to the village kind of life, and we were poor. We didn't have much. So the only source of livelihood that we had was my father working as a casual laborer in a tea farm picking tea. So moving back to Kakamega meant that he didn't have any job, and he had not constructed a nice house. We had a very small house, which was grass thatched, and the roof was very old, so it leaked most of the time when there was heavy rains. And the house was so small, we made fun of the house sometimes, that when you're in the sitting room and you stretch your legs, you'll find yourself in the kitchen. So, but that did not mean that they did not have hope to make our life better. Being born as the firstborn, they always told me that I need to look at the environment I'm growing in and focus on education. And I remember even where I went to school was very far. I'll walk around 5-6 kilometers away just to go to school every morning. And that means, and you know, our primary schools those days were very strict with time. So by either 6 you should be in class, or 7 you should be in class. So it meant that I had to wake up very early, walk barefoot, and go to school. And some of the paths we used to walk to school they were not very secure. I remember some dogs we had. We used to go through a home, and there were so many fierce dogs. So every time we went through close to the home, you'll be chased by the dogs, and you have to run as fast as you can, because if you're lazy or if you don't run very fast, then it means you'll be caught up, and it will not be good for you. So it was difficult that time, but I had very good mother who supported me very much, and made sure that despite those challenges, I did not look at them as a disadvantage. I looked at them as an opportunity to be better. My great-grandfather is called Nandi.
Okay.
And then when they moved to Nandi County, which was Nandi Hills, where my father worked, when I was born there, they named me Nandi. So people around there thought I was named after the town or after the place. But actually, ideally, it was just my grandfather's name.
Wow. Thank you. JB likes walking. Yeah? He wonders why, 4 mature men would be playing a small ball across the table for 30 minutes. So he prefers walking. JB, tell us about your upbringing.
For me, I think I'm really grateful to God because I come from a family that feared God. I think the only challenge we had was poverty. But of course, my parents were really committed to unity and love, and they really raised us well. Of course, we were 6 siblings. I'm the 4th born in that particular family. And of course, poverty was an issue because we really struggled. Things like meals, of course, we used to take just 1 meal a day, and that is mainly, of course, dinner. And if we got the privilege to get lunch, then it could be porridge for lunch, of course, from school, when you come from school during lunchtime. And then, of course, the issue of shelter, that was also a challenge. Shelter, of course, the house we were staying in was a very small house, and of course, leaking and all that. And even bedding also was a problem. I remember we had some maize sacks. You just insert yourself in and you sleep. Because, and then of course, the mattress could be a few pieces of cloth, worn-out clothes. But that was life, and we enjoyed life because at some point, of course, there are things we used to do as kids. Playing, fighting was normal. We just fight, and then we make friends later after maybe 1 or 2 hours. And so it was really a nice experience. I think at a childhood level, as long as there was that peace and love, the issue of lack was not really a big thing as such. I think the issue of poverty now comes in when you start realizing now, I think that people who have some things, but then you don't have, or maybe there's some privileges which you don't have, but at least during childhood, we contended with life, and we felt like that was life as usual. But with the loving parents, it was very good it was easy for me, and of course my siblings, to be able to cope with life.
Thank you. When you say that did you get inside the sack, or maybe you put the sack together? Maybe that you can elaborate. You get inside the sack and sleep?
The sack, and then of course you sleep on. You have some small pieces of worn-out cloth. Those are like a mattress. Then of course you get inside the sack. That becomes like a blanket, and you sleep.
Wow.
Yes.
Now tell us the journey with compassion. Now let's get now to the real. And in this question you may not talk about the impact, but you can share with us the journey. When did you get recruited into the program? Then you can share with us some of the memorable moments that you while at the program, and then the next question would be I will ask you about the impact. So I think we can start this time with Mr. Nandi.
Yes, so I got recruited in the Compassion program in 1999, and so basically what happened is when we went back to the village, and my mother connected with the local church, so she'll wake up every Sunday morning, then go to the local church. She used to like singing the Hallelujah hymns, and so the reason why she would go there very early is to practice and help clean the church, our local church. So through that is when she knew about compassion. And the local pastor, having known or having came to learn of our situation, recommended my joining to compassion. And I remember very well how that day happened. So I was in class 1, and they came, picked me. I think you see the picture there, I'm in a school uniform. So they picked me from school, and then I went to the local church, and so they used to call names. Then you come, they take your picture, they update your profile, such kind of things. And then what happened was, during that time, when they called my name, Kevin Nandi, the two kids stood up. So there was 2 Kevin Nandis. And they wanted now to try and find which one is the one we should pick, because they didn't know which one to pick. from the same community, the same name, and the same kind of situation. We were all poor, and everyone was trying to get a chance to join Compassion. So they had to keep me waiting for a while, for 2 weeks, as they tried to find the correct child to pick. And that was really difficult for me. I didn't know what was going on, but I could tell that people were trying to argue and try to present their case and see which child to pick. Finally, then I was picked, and the other child was told to go home. And then for me to be taken the picture, then they tried to get a sponsor for me. So even up to today, I try to reflect and look at my journey, my whole life, and ask myself, why did God allow me to be chosen? And sometimes it makes me feel like God has a reason for everything that happens for us. It may not make sense at that time, but for sure, there's always a path for every one of us.
My father did not believe until his time of death that he was poor, having had the glory that he had. Yeah. So there is a woman who came and picked me from the house and took me to the program, just like that, and I was recruited. It was by grace.
Wow.
The memorable moments that I have is one, of course, the food. I would escape. That was also the escape on Saturday and go and eat. That was the best part of it. And then I don't know what is the difference between the maize, the rice and beans of that time were sweeter than what we eat today. So I would look forward to it every Saturday, going there. That was one memorable thing. The other one was when one person believed in me, Joshua Oyugi Ongule, one of the PDs, he's still a PD at Lake Basin Cluster with the Lutheran Church. He believed in me and picked me out amongst the boys, made me a commander of a platoon called Boys and Girls Brigade. I had an opportunity to visit Western Uganda through that. I had an opportunity to visit Kinale in Kiambu. I had never gone past Ahero in Kisumu. So I had an opportunity to do that. The other thing is it gave me, although my family was spiritually well, my mother was really, really a Christian woman. But I got born again when I was in the program. The other thing is also Grace Mukunzi, the former PF. By then, I don't know whether it was called Lake Basin, but I didn't know the name of the cluster, but I knew the PF. Grace, it was young. So Grace saved my life when I told you I was almost being amputated. Grace saved my life when a PD at that time decided he wanted nothing to do with me. So Grace, being Grace, you know who Grace was. All of us who know Grace. So Grace came to the project and made noise. And I was taken from home, brought to the project. She saw the leg and instructed the PD to purchase drugs because the PD had outrightly alikata. So he bought drugs. I still remember the drugs today, antibiotic, inaitwa Augmentin. It saved my life, yeah. It really, really did save my life. The other memorable moment came in 2009. After, remember the post-election violence 207 and 208? My second stepmother used that confusion and burnt down our house, a section of the house. At night, when we were sleeping, it was an interesting thing. So I said enough was enough. So I took the radio and, you know, Franco, the singer, the Congolese singer, yeah?
Makiadi.
Luambo Makiadi.
Luambo Makiadi.
So I took a whole CD, yeah, Franco, and I memorized all the common songs, za Luambo Makiadi, because I wanted to be into a voiceover or something. You do a song that was already done.
Okay.
So I memorized like 12. So I kept on singing. Then there was Mzee. He used to lead a band in Kondele. And he wanted me to go and be a lead singer for Franco because they were looking for. And just as I was about to be recruited, the guy was arrested. So I thought my life had ended. But just then, I received a letter that I was taken to LDP. And those are the memorable, amongst others.
Wow.
And here I am today.
Thank you. I think On behalf of Grace, let all the PF take that turn. Let's clap for the PF, because that's, that is credit to the PF then, that is Grace. Thank you so much. Yes, JB.
Yeah, for me, I was recruited in the program in the year 1996 at the age of 7. I think we just had some either staff or CPC members who came, and they asked for a child at the age of 7, a child age 7. So at that time, I was age 7, and that is how I got into the program. So that means maybe God had just determined that it's me who will be the right person to join at that particular time. And then in terms of memorable moments, I think one of the moments I cherish was when I got born again. There was a get-together conference organized. It happened at Kura Agricultural College. It was organized by the project, and through that I got born again. My life actually was transformed because I started seeing life differently. That was just after I had completed Test 98. And then the other memorable moment I can remember was we had some career counseling where we went to Musingo High School, which is really, it was a big school, but of course it is still a big school. And so that opportunity really opened my mind, because we had my plan for tomorrow, and my plan was I had decided to be a doctor. That is what I had known. But now when we went for career guiding and counseling, I realized that the other opportunities, and so I was able to really think differently. And then also meals was also a very important part of the program, because that's a time now you used to get quality meal during a program day. So that really was so motivating. And then also gifts, and specifically the Christmas gift. Personally, I was so happy about the gifts because we used to get blankets and other things that we needed at home. Of course, we were given the opportunity to select what you need for Christmas. Yeah, though I didn't have a privilege to get gifts from the sponsor, and even the issue of letters, I didn't really get any letter from the sponsor, but that did not discourage me in any way. So I'm happy because I think there are things I can remember. And also, I had a privilege to participate in Bible, Bible trivia that happened somewhere in Maseno. So that also gave me an exposure to be able to see also what is happening outside. Yeah, and also I participated in some games in, of course, volleyball, and we were able to really feel encouraged because that way then I started seeing myself as someone who can also be able to do many things and also visit places outside my home, of course, my village.
Wow, thank you. Let's clap for this brother. Again, what course did you do again?
The course I did is civil engineering.
Civil engineering?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so because I was trying to get pictures from this gentleman and I could not get pictures. And I called him and he said, you know me, I never used to take those things. And so I think chemical engineering and pictures probably they don't mix. But it's civil, not chemical. Anyway, thank you so much. Now, briefly, because we are really short of time, and I would also want the audience to ask a few questions. Talk to us about the impact compassion has had in your life, and I would want you to connect it even with, or combine it with even the opportunity that you have got as you know, as an individual to work for the same organization.
Okay, I think my life revolves around compassion. I think I have a long history with compassion, and I'm really privileged that I really thank God for that. First of all, it's through compassion that I was able to earn a degree at the university. Yeah, through, of course, as I said, I come from a family of 6, and all the 3 siblings that I follow, of course, they all reached class 98. But then, because of compassion for me, I was able to go through secondary school and also join university, of course, through LDP. And then also, through compassion, I was able to really gain courage and confidence, and that ability to be able to know who I am and take up responsibilities. Like, for example, in college, where I was a Bible study coordinator for the Christian Union for some 2 years, and that came about because I had that opportunity to be able to just have that self-confidence and even develop the leadership skills. And then, of course, I got to know Christ through the program, as I had shared previously, of course, through a camp that had been organized by Compassion. So I think those are the things. And then, of course, as a result of that, of course, I've been able to make, or rather have impacted my family. Currently, of course, at home, I've been able to build a house for my parents.
Wow.
Which is really courtesy of Compassion, of course. Also, I got a wife also from Compassion.
Let's clap for the brother.
Yeah, that is so as I've said, my life revolved around Compassion. Also, because of Compassion, of course, after completing university and I was privileged to get a job, I supported my two brothers who are following me, and they were able to complete college, of course, diploma courses in civil and electrical engineering.
Wow.
So that, of course, would not have been possible without, of course, the Compassion. So I'm really grateful because the support I received has actually been able to really also impact other people around me and even the extended family members. So it's a privilege, and I believe that God had actually ordered my steps, even to this particular point where I am. Thank you.
By talking about marriage, you're married. Could this be your wife?
Yes, that's my wife.
That's your wife and your son.
Yes, she's wrestling.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm happy, and I know it's actually God who actually connected me to her. The other day she showed me a photo, which was taken, I think, when we were still in CDSB, I think over maybe 15 years ago. I was just, she was just in front of me, and she was in front of me. We were at Kakamega, Bishopstown. We had gone for some conference. I didn't know her, of course. I had not known her from that. Even in ADP, I didn't even get to meet her. But then after college, and of course, when I went through, of course, during my normal work, I met her. And so I think that photo told me, from that photo I learned that I think God had just connected us from before creation of the world.
Wow.
So it's not just through Compassion.
So she was also a beneficiary
of
Compassion.
Wow.
Compassion. So there's something about him I also discovered because I was just looking at the pictures. You see, he's the one holding his son, and yes, that is baptism. Oh? Is it? No, it's dedication.
Yeah.
And you are the same person holding your son. So you are a good father. And here you are worshiping and you are holding your son. So you are a good father. Let's clap for this brother. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, Kevin. Let's go to Kevin, and then as we come to a conclusion.
Yes. So for me, I think the same way John Bosco said, career-wise, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Through those trainings or through those conferences that we used to have at the project, they helped me realize what I wanted to be. And it's so coincident that even we went in the same high school with John Bosco, and so I know him very well and I understand when he says career, we had no dreams so much. We didn't know what we wanted to be. I remember during my plan for tomorrow, we were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I confidently said I wanted to be a watchman. Because for me that was like something cool, you know. They had very nice uniforms and I wanted to be like that. But now going through the conferences, the trainings, I realized I needed to be more than that. I wanted something bigger for me to make a difference in my community. And of course, I got my degree in business information systems, which is actually related to what I'm doing currently, so I'm thankful. And also through Compassion, I had a privilege to have Alumni Fellow Program at the GMC for 1 year, which helped me have a bigger perspective, a global perspective of how life is, what it means to have people from different culture, different background, and relate with them conveniently without rubbing shoulders. So I thank God for compassion. I've worked in some different NGOs or different companies, but joining compassion was something that God directed me, and I know He still has more things to come for me in compassion or whatever He'll call me. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, Eli.
Yeah, the impact that compassion has had in my life. I remember there was a time that the bishop of the Africa Gospel Church came here and gave a sermon on all of us ni mchango ya watu. It categorically says that all of us ni mchango ya watu. So compassion taught me something about investing in people. And that is the impact that I got from there, because all my life it was about people investing in me. Remember the lady who picked me, took me to compassion, and then Joshua came in. Joshua rescued me in so many occasions, I cannot be able to count them here. And looking back and seeing that is just the impact that has had is about investing in me to be who I am today. The other thing is still boils down to looking at career. There is a point in life that I wanted to be a military personnel. I wanted so bad to be Kenya Army. And then somebody came and told me you cannot make it because of, and I said, okay, fine. Then I went to a surveyor. Then I went to, until it came to a point at Form 3, I said, God knows. So when I completed Form 4, my results came out, I scored very highly in geography and agriculture. Then I had my passion was more in agriculture. So compassion helped me to go through that and had the education that I have today. The impact that has had with the job that I'm doing right now is I've also learned to invest in people because somebody invested in me. We have so many children. As I said, I am an uncle to 17. And these 17, some of them, my sister died in 2009. My brother passed on 2016. And them knowing that you are from compassion, then you take up the responsibility. So what does that mean? You pay school fees, you do all these things. The other thing is my mother now is on 15, 9 days from today, she will be 70. And that comes with health kind of things. So I really have to invest towards her health so that I can be able to enjoy her for the few years that she has remaining on us. So it's about investing in people. That's all.
Wow. Thank you so much. There's a question I had wanted to ask, but I feel like and I want to give an audience a chance to just ask one or two questions. But if we'll get a chance, I would want to ask if there is anything that used to happen then that you would really want to continue happening, probably when you were in the program, and now that you're working for the organization. That is a question I would want you to answer. But then I want to also give an opportunity to the audience. Yes, any questions to the panel?
I've enjoyed your stories in terms of what God has done and the far you have come. My question, which borders also on a concern I have, most of the beneficiaries who are recruited into the program seem not to leverage on that opportunity to actually come out of their situation. If I look at the numbers, majority actually don't really seem to succeed. My question is, what leads to that? Because you have been there for a while. Mm-hmm. What makes most of the people who are given opportunity not to leverage on it, and therefore their life never turns around? But number two is, what did you do differently so that through that we can know how to help those who are still in the program?
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think from my personal experience, I don't know what you mean by success or how you define success, but I think what majority of the children go through, the difficulties they go through is there's the issue of labeling. You know, you are identified as mtoto wa mzungu, and sometimes that's really difficult as a person because you are looked at differently, and there's always pressure on you. There's always expectation of how you should behave. You are not looked at. I don't know if you get my point. You are not looked at as a normal child. You are looked at as a chosen one, or someone who should behave in a certain way. If you make a mistake, it becomes even more worse. It affects how you relate with other people. And I saw that mostly from my area, whereby you'll even hear people saying, watoto wa compassion, unaona, which at some point it should not be the case, or watoto wa mradi, which at some point it makes you feel like I'm different, and even other people start looking at you differently. Instead of looking at the mistake you've done, they start viewing you like you should not have done that. Why should you do that? So that kind of pressure creates in your head something that puts more pressure on you when you make mistakes, and even coming out of that mistake becomes a huge challenge. Or you'll hear some. I think someone was sharing with me this morning that there was a child somewhere during this Christmas and they committed suicide, and that was so sad. You know, that means there was something that should have been done, but it was not done correctly. So that's my own view. I don't know what other people their views are, but majorly that's a big problem. And also where they come from, there's always that element of you're being supported, so you should be doing much better. Instead of derailing or instead of support and pushing you forward, they try to push you back.
Okay.
But I don't know what you mean by success.
It's okay. Let's have Eli.
One of the things that I've come to understand over time is the choices that we make when we are going through the program. And some of us, if success means coming out of the project, being in LDP or going to college and getting a job, some of us don't achieve that because of the choices that they make. I have friends of mine who, to date, they still go back to the program. Yeah, because they do not want to dissociate themselves from the fact that now I need to do something about my life. Then it also comes to the choice that you make in an environment that you are in. In the environment that I grew up in, none of my siblings ever made it past Form 4. None of them ever achieved a degree or a diploma. Yeah? And all of them went to the same high school for the boys. I made a choice and say that I will not go to the same high school as my brothers. And I worked towards that. But there is one thing that my father taught me that has really driven me to where I am. And it is a nice Luo word. Let me just use it. Newton will translate. He used to tell me that pinball, iteremos. Loosely translates to the world is far, you take it slowly. Yeah? As in, you live your life one day at a time. The choices that you make one day at a time defines who you eventually become. So I cannot be able to speak and judge those people who have not been successful if success was supposed to mean working or completing high school. I would say that to them, the choices that they continuously make would define who they are.
Okay, for me, I think it's the issue of abilities. We just need to understand what abilities that these particular children and youth have, and then leverage on those particular abilities. And then let's also work on developing the resilience in them, because in life there are challenges. And you can have the good environment, but if you don't take initiative as an individual to be able to really thrive, it will still be very difficult for you to succeed. And let's look at that environment also even at home. We could be doing much at the project, but then the home environment, the school environment, they still contribute towards this particular, because the behavior and the character. So we need to really go beyond seeing ourselves as people who are able to deliver what is required so that they can be transformed. But then have an environment where they also understand that they have a role to play towards their own success. That way then will make things different. Because I'm saying so because challenges like, for example, there's a time I was sent away from school for about 1 month in Form 3. And what I did, I took some books. I just went to the library, took some books, and I was able to do a lot of work at home. When I went back after 1 month, I was ahead of others. So it's about also just being able to read, understand that you have a role to play towards the success, despite that there are some things which are being done to support you as an individual. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together and celebrate this great gentleman for their great stories. Until you sit in front here, that is when you realize how hot the bench can be. So we celebrate you and thank you so much for talking to us about your story. May the Lord bless you.